I get often asked the question, how do you read faster? While I don't advocate for reading as fast as possible, because at the end of the day, it's not about reading, it's about remembering, digesting the information. In some cases, it's obviously very practical to be able to quickly read through a text, a report, or a book. So here are a few recommendations for you to develop a faster reading speed. If you take a look at how people read, how you read, is that basically you would go like this. Your eyes is going to focus on a few words, okay? Not letter by letter, just like what you did when you were really young, but couple of words per couple of words. And the challenge that I give you is that instead of stopping, let's say, 4 or 5 times in such a book, you can progressively reduce the amount of stops. And this is going to accelerate your reading pace. Why? Because your eyes is basically stopping, moving fast, stopping again, moving fast, stopping again, and so on. So 2 ways to do it. First, don't start at the first word. Don't start your first stop in the beginning of the line, but rather a little bit later. Okay? So try, for example, you can, as a training way, you can draw a line here, draw a line here, and say, I'm going as well to read here another. So basically, you physically identify the areas where your eyes are going to stop. And you take these lines, for example, you draw them on a couple of pages, and then you go boom, boom, boom. And you'll see that your eyes is going to be accustomed to that, and you are going in 3 stops to read 1 line. Depending on the width of the book, depending on the size of the police, you may have to have more stops or less stops. But the idea is very simple, is to reduce the number of stops, because your eyes actually are able to capture more words than just this very single word where you're focusing on. Very interesting technique to allow you to go faster. The point is really to get what you're reading, but in some cases you have a full report, 200 pages, you have to go through it. So scanning it quickly, selecting which chapters are making the most sense by looking first at the content of your report, for example, or of the book. So usually you would have something telling you, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. So 1, reading fast with the technique that I told you. 2, selecting the areas that make the most sense for you if this is relevant. And 3, it's more about remembering. It's how to identify the few areas that really contain something that you want to remember. And in my case, I have such very simple tricks, which is I fold a piece of the page that I would like to reread again. So in this case, for example, I was reading a book, I didn't even have a pencil. If you have a pencil or something, then you can even identify the area you want to reread. But if not, at least you know which page. Now you'll tell me what happens if I have to read also something that is interesting here. Well, you can use both top and bottom, and by the way, that's what I did here. These are very concrete examples allowing you to 1, read faster, 2, read selectively, and 3, remember the few things that are making sense, because you have then pre-identified the areas that you want to reread. And a book like this, that I don't know how much time it takes to read, maybe an hour or 2, you can reread it in a couple of minutes if you just want to focus on the areas that you deemed, that you considered interesting at the time you read it fully.